Honorable Jimmy Yellowhair, Honorable Elmer P. Begay,
Oh,
Honorable,
that's it.
thank you, Honorable Elmer P. Begay is present. Honorable Amber Kenneth Crotty.
Ayati Shade, this is Delegate Amber Kenneth-Crotty. I'm on the line. Good morning.
Good morning, Shadeja. Thank you, Honorable Amber Kenneth Crotty is present. Honorable Nathaniel Brown. Honorable Nathaniel Brown. Chairman, we have 4 members present upon roll call and 2 members not entering roll call. Chairman.
Thank you for the roll call. We do have a quorum at this time. It is 10:14 a.m. and we'll call this meeting to order. With this, we'll move forward to, before we get started, we'll do an invocation and Kadosh and Das. They'll get Amber Kenneth Crotty says the company on Thursday at the Benibia.
Thank you, Chair. So we'll just center ourselves today with a deep breath. I'm going to pray into a prayer. So just pray this mid-morning for our offerings. Beautiful sunrise, beautiful day that you've provided for our people. Another day of strength and endurance for our children and our elders and our veterans, our families out in our communities. They were blessed with the moisture, and now to see our land covered in green with the different plants, those that are not native to our area, but to see the grass up on the mountain, to see the streams, to see the earth and dams filled with moisture, and the livestock being nourished, being hydrated, taking care of one another and taking care of us. Holy Ones, we just continue to ask that in this meeting today, we look at all and are appreciative of the leadership on the call, the leadership that are out doing the community work, and those who are in the home setting, so that we have the heart and the mind and the compassion of positive words, positive intention to move forward in a positive way, so that when our children hear us speak, they could hear the hopes and the dreams that we have for them, and they know that we love them. And the Holy Ones, as we gather and continue to provide nourishment, not only for ourselves, but for our livestock, all of our animals. So it's the horses, the donkeys, the turkeys, and the cougars up on the mountains. We just continue to give offerings to them and offerings to protect us, to guide us. Let us come together with one intention, one road for Navajo Nation, so that we can move forward in a positive way. And for our children who are going to school every day, that they are protected, that the teachers who come in to educate us are protected, that the bus drivers, the janitors, the cafeteria staff, that all take care of our children to keep them protected in these times of violence and destruction, that you just keep their hearts pure and keep their hearts joyful, and the blessings that all of our Kinalbas gave us this weekend as they ran not only for themselves and their families and their clans, but for their people to restore and rejuvenate. And as we shared their con and shared our traditional foods, that it continues to heal us, it continues to guide us, it continues to give us knowledge and to remind ourselves to stay connected to our brothers. We just say this in the most beautiful way so that we can continue with safety in mind, caring and compassionate leadership, And as we work together as a committee today and in our future discussions, not only with the budget, but for everyone's safety at the Navajo Nation Fair who are traveling in, the visitors who come in, the tourists, our community members who want to attend this family function and we're doing this in a good way. So, thank you, Chair. I hope you have a blessed week this week, and we look forward to this committee discussion.
Kaya lang siya ng tanjan ng katsadin ko ni. Baki hilin ko. Adam na siya ko ay ekiponi klodo. Kaya so kadaya na sa hold siya. Introduction guests and visitors. I did hear Commission on the Budget and Finance Committee members. Four members are present for a quorum. I did hear Shananta. Delegate Paul Begay on the call. Delegate Oto So. Delegate Eugene So. Those based on another East file.
Delegate Stewart Chennai.
Today, Delegate Wilson Stewart Jr. though. He's trying to hope for the record.
Delegate Freeland Stewart, good morning.
Hey, good morning, Delegate Mike Freeland.
Chairman Henio, this is Delegate Otto So. I'm on the line.
Hey, Delegate Odo So, Chairman, Vice Chairman Odo So.
Good morning, BNF Committee. This is Pernell Holona, Delegate Holona.
Good morning. Good morning, Shananta. Delegate Pernell Holona is on the line also. Christina, at the Office of the President, Vice President. A representative from the OPVP. The Navajo Nation Judicial Branch, representatives from the Navajo Nation Judicial Branch. The Navajo Nation Office of Speaker Seth Damon, staff members.
Good morning, Chair. Good morning, committee members. This is Donovan from Speaker's Office.
Good morning, Donovan. Thank you for being on the call with us.
Good morning. This is also Joaquin Yates, also from the Speaker's Office. Good morning, Chair. Good morning, honorable delegates.
Good morning, Mr. Yates. Thank you for being on the call.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman. This is Leonard Sosi from OPVP. Thank you.
Yeah, good morning, Shananda. Thank you for being on the call. Okay, let's move forward to reading of the agenda. Peggy, if you read the agenda into the record for us, please.
Chair Henio, good morning, everybody. Shiash Nathaniel Brown is also on the call from the committee. But okay, this is the agenda for the Budget and Finance Committee of the Navajo Nation Council, September 6, 2022, regular meeting, 10 a.m. via teleconference. Presiding is Jamie Henio, Chairperson, Raymond Smith Jr., Vice Chairperson. Via telecommunications, Window Rock Navajo Nation. 1, call the meeting to order, the roll call the invocation. 2, recognize guests and visiting officials. 3, review and adopt the agenda. 4, review and adopt the journal. There's the journal for 7/12/22, July 12, 22. 5, receive reports. A, update on the ARPA Hardship Assistance Program presented by Emerson Horace. The 3rd, Accountant Office of the Controller, 6 old business, none, 7 new business. A, legislation number 0151-22. B, legislation number 0137-22. C, legislation number 153-22. 8, close of this session. Written announcements, adjournment. The next regular meeting is September 20th, 2022. Chair.
Thank you for the reading of the agenda. Is there a motion to accept the agenda as read? Is there a motion to accept the agenda?
Motion, Delegate Crotty.
Machine Shinanda, Delegate Amber Kinaswakati. Is there a second? Is there a second to the motion to accept the agenda? Is there a second going once? There's a motion on the floor to accept the agenda. Is there a second going twice?
Vice Chair, will second.
Okay, second by Vice Chair Smith. We do have a motion and second on the floor for the agenda. Is there any questions, comments on the agenda as read?
Chairman Henio, this is Delegate Crotty with the question.
Machine Shinanda, you have the floor for your question.
Yes, Chairman Henio. Actually, it would be a motion. I wanted to ask if we could add onto the reports an update from NHA regarding the ERAP. That's the Emergency Rental Assistance Program. We did receive a request for a letter from the council. I haven't heard if that was submitted or the status. That program is set to, I believe it's set to expire on the 20th. And with this motion, Chair, for this report, if I could ask, or if I'm in order, if we could hear the legislation first and then the report so that we could give those individuals enough time to get on the call and get the information for the committee. If I'm in order, Chair, that would be my motion for Amendment 1. Thank you.
Amendment number 1, motion on the floor to add a report from Navajo Housing Authority on the Navajo Rent Assistance Program. And there's also, along with that, Amendment 1 would be is to move towards legislations first after the journal, and then we'll take care of the business items first under item 7, and then we'll go back to reports. That's the motion on the floor, on the Budget and Finance Committee. Is there a second?
Delegate Begay, second.
Machine second by Delegate Elmer P. Begay. You have a motion and a second on the floor. Are there any questions, comments for Amendment number 1?
Chair Henio, I'm not a committee member, but can I make a comment, please? Ms. Peggy.
If there's no comments or questions from the committee, go ahead.
Thank you. I did contact NHA, and the acting CEO is on the call, Maureen Curley, and she indicated that they have a busy morning reviewing the Indian housing plan. So I'm not sure, if it works for their schedule. You might ask them to do legislations first and review reports after that. We only have 3 legislations today.
Peggy, that is the amendment, part of amendment number 1 that we go to legislations first, and then after that we'll do reports. So there's a motion second on the floor for amendment number 1. Any questions, comments? Ramona, roll call vote for amendment number 1.
Yes, Chairman Henio, roll call vote on amendment number 1. Honorable Raymond Smith Jr., how do you vote?
Green.
Thank you. Honorable Raymond Smith Jr. votes green. Honorable Jimmy Yellowhair, how do you vote? Honorable Jimmy Yellowhair, how do you vote? Honorable Amber Kenneth-Bott-Crotty, how do you vote?
Sada, this is Delegate Crotty. I vote green. Thank you.
Thank you, Shadeja. Honorable Amber Kenneth-Bott-Crotty votes green. Honorable Nathaniel Brown, how do you vote?
Delegate Brown votes green.
Thank you. Honorable Nathaniel Brown votes green. Honorable Elmer P. Begay, how do you vote?
I'll vote green.
Thank you. Honorable Elmer P. Begay votes green. Honorable Jimmy Yellowhair, how do you vote? Chairman, we have 4 members voting in the affirmative, 0 opposing, chairman not voting, and 1 member not voting. Chairman?
Thank you, Adnan, for the roll call vote for amendment number 1. 4 in favor, 0 opposed, chair not voting. Amendment number 1 passes. Back to the main motion. Any further questions, comments on the main motion? Tonight, yeah, I'll move towards a roll call vote to call for the question. Ramona, roll call vote to accept the agenda with 1 amendment.
Yes, Chairman, roll call vote on the main motion with 1 amendment. Honorable Raymond Smith Jr., how do you vote?
Green.
Thank you. Honorable Raymond Smith Jr. votes green. Honorable Jimmy Yellowhair, how do you vote? Honorable Jimmy Yellowhair, how do you vote? Honorable Amber Kenneth Crotty, how do you vote?
Shada, this is Delegate Crotty. I vote green. Thank you.
Thank you, Deja. Honorable Amber Kenneth Crotty votes green. Honorable Nathaniel Brown, how do you vote?
I vote green.
Thank you. Honorable Nathaniel Brown votes green. Honorable Elmer P. Begay, how do you vote?
I will agree.
Thank you. Honorable Elmer P. Begay votes green. Honorable Jimmy Yellowhair, how do you vote? Chairman, we have 4 members voting in the affirmative, 0 opposing, chairman not voting, and 1 member not voting. Chairman?
Thank you. Roll call vote 4 in favor, 0 opposed, chair not voting. We have our agenda before us. Okay, with that, let's move forward to next item on our agenda, Shenandoah Budget Finance Committee. Review and adopt the journal for July 12, 2022. Is there a motion on the floor? Motion to accept the journal?
Motion, Delegate Crotty, to accept the journal. Thank you.
Okay, see a motion by Shenandoah Delegate Amber Kenneth Crotty. Is there a second? Is there a second?
Second, Delegate Begay.
Shenandoah Delegate Elmer P. Begay, second. So we do have a motion and second on the floor. The journals have been emailed to us. Are there questions, comments on the journal? Roll call vote. Ramona, roll call vote to accept the journal for July 12th, 2022.
Yes, Chairman Henyo, roll call vote on accepting the journals for July 12th, 2022. Honorable Raymond Smith Jr., how do you vote?
Green.
Thank you. Honorable Raymond Smith Jr. votes green. Honorable Jimmy Yellowhair, how do you vote? Honorable Jimmy Yellowhair, how do you vote? Honorable Amber Kenneth Crotty, how do you vote?
This is Delegate Amber Kenneth Crotty. I vote green. Thank you.
Thank you, Shadeja. Honorable Amber Kenneth Crotty votes green. Honorable Nathaniel Brown, how do you vote?
I vote green.
Thank you. Honorable Nathaniel Brown votes green. Honorable Elmer P. Begay, how do you vote?
I vote green.
Thank you. Honorable Elmer P. Begay votes green. Honorable Jimmy Yellowhair, how do you vote? Chairman, we have 4 members voting in the affirmative, 0 opposing, chairman not voting, and 1 member not voting. Chairman?
We have accepted our journals, 4 in favor, 0 opposed, chair not voting. Thank you for the roll call vote. And we'll move forward on our agenda here. And so with amendment number 1 passing, we are on item 7, new business legislation 151-22. And I did hear his sponsor, Shenandoah Delegate Mark Freeland on the line. His legislation. So with this, Vice Chair Smith, I'm on my way to Alamo right now, and I think I'll have be good on signal for a little bit. But in case I do drop off, if you don't mind taking over. Peggy, if you would read the legislation to the record for us, please. Peggy,
This is the,
legislation 151-22.
thank you, Chair, I'm reading proposed standing committee resolution assigned to Resources and Development, Vince Budget and Finance Committee, Vince Navigate Committee, 24th Navigation Council, 4th year, 2022. Introduced by Mark Freeland, tracking number 0151-22 and co-sponsored by Seth A. Damon. Track an action relating to the Resources and Development Committee, Budget and Finance and Navigate Committee approving the Division of Economic Development's applications for the State Small Business Credit Initiative under the Federal American Rescue Plan Act. So there's exhibits that are referenced in the legislation, and those are all there. And then the Internet Public Review document. And I did check this morning I know that this has gone to the Resources and Development Committee, but I have not received a committee report, although I know that the committee report has been turned into the legislation section, members of the committee. Vice Chair, are you there?
Yes.
I think we're having technical difficulties. Cecilia, I see that Chair Henio's call has dropped, so I guess, can you lead this discussion, please?
Thank you, Shetta, for letting me know that the call drop usually jumps on board when I'm talking. But at any point, I can't allow for reading this legislation. We have the sponsor of the legislation. Do we have a motion?
Motion, Delegate Crotty.
Motion by Shemayaja, Honorable Crotty, second. Second going once. Second going twice. Second call for the last of this call for this motion on legislation. No second. Let's move forward to the next legislation. Should I read that into record?
Thank you. I was really talking to myself. Excuse me for that. Okay, legislation number 0137-22 is a proposed standing committee resolution assigned to Education and Human Services Committee, Vince Budget and Finance Committee. 24th Navigation Council, 4th year, 2022, introduced by Daniel E. So and Pernell Polona, I believe. Sponsor tracking number 0137-22. An action relating to the Health, Education, and Human Services and the Budget and Finance Committees approving the fund management plans for the Chinle, Fort Defiance, and Tuba City and Shiprock and Crown Point Regional Child Care Programs operated by the Division of Social Services, Navajo Department of Child Care and Development. And so there are exhibits in this legislation that are referenced. And then there's also memos from the Office of the Controller and also from the Office of Management and Budget as they reviewed the legislation. The Internet Public Review first report has no comments, and then the Health, Education, and Human Services Committee has a due pass with no amendment. And their vote tally sheet is also attached, Chair, Vice Chair.
Budget Finance Committee members, motion.
Motion, Delegate Crotty.
Motion by Honorable Crotty, second.
Delegate Yellowhair, second.
Good morning, Mr. Che. Thank you for
Morning.
seconding this motion.
That's it, finish.
We have a motion in a second. Budget and Finance Committee members, we'll go ahead and turn the floor over to the sponsor of this legislation. You have the floor.
Good morning, Vice Chair. Can you read me? Mr. Algahalon?
Yeah. Read you nice and clear. Go ahead, Mr.
Okay, thank you.
For being on board
Thank
with
you,
this.
sir. Appreciate it. And good morning to all those on the BNF committee. Thank you for hearing this legislation here today. And I hope everybody's had a nice weekend. A 4th of July weekend, or Labor Day weekend. And thank you for this legislation today. I put this legislation 013722, which refers to FY22 Navajo Nation General Fund budget with conditions and appropriations. And the management plan will support 153 children who are currently enrolled in 19 child care center facilities that have reopened. And however, today there are 85 children waiting on the list who need access to enjoy the services that are offered and the education offered to the child care service centers. Fund management plan will be to reinvest to support the initial and educational services for our precious and future resourceful children. So, if there are any other questions further, I would like to yield time to my agents to speak more on this, on the matter on the fund management plan. If that's possible, any other questions that come up. Vice Chair.
Thank you for that, Honorable Alona. Do you want to turn the floor over to your agent at this point in time before we go into questions?
Yes, let me see if they're on. I haven't had a chance to check them lately. My agent would be Regina Rosalind Begay. I'm sorry, Rosalind Begay, and or Deanna Nesbitt-Gishi. Director Gishi, are you on the line?
Yes. Thank you, Delegate Colonna. Good morning, members of the Budget and Finance Committee. Thank you, Vice Chair Smith, for allowing us some time. So the Division of Social Services has been operating the Department of Child Care services for many years. And so we were apprised that we needed to develop a fund management plan as a condition of appropriation. And this is where we're trying to meet that requirement. In regards to the additional comments and services, I'd like to turn my time over now to the department manager, Ms. Sylvia Tyler. Sylvia?
Yes, good morning. Are you able to hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, Sylvia.
Okay,
Thank you.
all right. Good morning, Budget and Finance Committee. My name is Sylvia Tyler, and I'm the department manager for the Department of Child Care and Development. As Ms. Nesbitt-Gishi mentioned, this department is a department within the Division of Social Services. And as a result of the budget hearing last year in August of 2021, our office was tasked with updating its funds management plan. I believe there was an outdated plan, and that was to be completed by the end of second quarter fiscal year 22. And immediately right after that, in September of 2021, we began working on that and submitted our first draft. And there were some changes that were recommended. Those changes were made, and between the months of September and December, there was a lot of dialogue that happened between our office, the executive office, and also Department of Justice. So towards the end of December, or towards the end of 2021, Navajo Nation Department of Justice questioned why there were 3 separate FMPs and recommended that we reach out and consult with OMB to determine whether there should be 1 FMP to cover all regions or whether 3 FMPs are sufficient. So we did move forward with that, and in January of 2022, we provided a response to the Department of Justice. In addition to their question about the 3 separate FMPs, they also wanted clarification on whether DCCD would follow Resolution BFN-187-03, which is applying the eligibility criteria for the expenditure of revenues generated by programs and departments, or by Resolution BFMY-38-02, which is approving the eligibility criteria for the establishment of a fund and related fund management plan. So the BFMY-38-02 actually applies to programs and departments that generate 250,000 in annual revenue. So we had to make that distinction and respond to Department of Justice. So by March of 2022, an executive official review, there was 3 documents that were submitted to OMB, and those documents were reviewed by OMB and was returned to our office on March 25th. And it was deemed sufficient as 3 separate plans. And the very same day, we submitted those documents to OOC for their review. And around April 12th, OOC returned the plans as insufficient and recommended that we change the heading from revolving accounts to expenditure of revenues. So those changes were made and resubmitted. And in May of 2022, the expenditure of revenues was deemed legally sufficient by Navajo Nation Department of Justice, Navajo Nation Office of the Controller, and Navajo Nation Office of Management and Budget. So by June 2nd of 2022, the plan was forwarded to the Legislative Office, and Delegate Pernell Holona accepted to sponsor a legislation on June 3rd. And the end of June 2022, we received notice from Office of Legislative Counsel, I believe Mr. Chad Abeda, who noted that the legislation is being drafted or developed with a target date of completion of July 1, 2022. So thereafter, on August 17, 2022, legislation 0137-22 was approved by the Health, Education, and Human Services Committee. So the expenditure of revenues is actually 3 separate plans. One is for the Chinle region, which is comprised of 9 childcare centers, which includes Telani Cottonwood, Kirobot 1 and 2, Mini Farms, Nosetla, Beoltra, Pinyan, Rock Point, Rough Rock, and Saley. In Fort Defiance is combined with Tuba City region, and there's 5 childcare centers. Within the Fort Defiance region, we have Fort Defiance Childcare, Kerrigan, and Little Miss Muffet. And Tuba City region, we have Loop Early Learning and Lillian's Playhouse. And the third one is Shiprock, which is combined with Crom Point region. There are 4 childcare centers. And Shiprock region covers Elchine, Najoni, Hogback, and 2 Gray Hills. And Crom Point region covers East Oza. So the expenditure of revenue plan, as I mentioned, the 3, they're all the same. The only sections that change is on page 1, which is the heading. There's also a section under the establishment where we have Chinle Regional, and that will change for each of the funds management plan. And then also on page 3 and page 4. So these plans are all the same, but the titles will change, and in page 1, 3, and 4, those areas will change. And the expenditure, again, are just continuing with the plan. As far as the establishment, I did mention the child care is a department within the Division of Social Services. And these funds have an established account number, a business unit, and the Health, Education, Human Services Committee provides legislative oversight. And the purpose of childcare is to support and promote Navajo families' effort to become economically self-sufficient and to prevent child neglect. It is also to provide opportunity for parents or families to improve their education, learn new job skills, achieve and maintain an independent economic lifestyle, while allowing their children to be cared for in a nurturing childcare environment. And we also provide childcare services Monday to Friday, 7:30 a.m. to 5:30 p.m., except for approved tribal holidays. And as far as the administration of the funds and the revenue that's generated, these funds are reverted back to the Navajo Nation General Fund and reallocated to the three accounts that are established. And the fees are based on a sliding fee schedule. And the expenditure of how these funds are used. Again, the revenue that's generated is used to pay sub-accounts or line items, and it goes back into personnel, travel expenses, operational expenses, lease and rental, communications and utilities, repairs and maintenance, contractual services, special transactions, public assistance, and capital outlay. But based on my review of a lot of these expenditures, for most time, most times it goes back into the special transactions and also operational expenses, and the expenditure of these funds, or we do comply with the Navajo Nation Budget Instructions Manual. So that's just kind of an overview of our expenditure of revenues and an explanation of the time frame it took to get this to where it's at today. And I look forward to the support and approval of this plan. Thank you.
Does that conclude your report on this legislation, Honorable Helona?
Star six.
Honorable Helona?
Okay, I'm back. Thank you. That'll conclude our presentation. I think I was trying to get a hold of, see if Director Gishi, are you still on? Does that conclude our presentation?
Yes, thank you, Honorable Delegate Colon. That concludes the Division of Social Services presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Gishi. Vice Chair, that concludes our presentation for now. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Helona. Now back to the Budget and Finance Committee for questions, comments, concerns on behalf of this legislation.
Pro Tem Chair, this is Delegate Crotty with a question.
Nagoshi Mayeja from Budget and Finance Committee. Honorable Crotty, you have the floor. May proceed.
Thank you. I appreciate the update, Ms. Neswood Gishi and Ms. Tyler. In terms of the fund management, I did attend the public hearing for other social services funding, and I thought that was a great opportunity for transparency. When it comes to the expenditure of this fund, since you're receiving the money from the parent at a sliding scale, what is the transparency in terms of how you're expending these dollars for either travel or operation and maintenance? Thank you.
Yes, Delegate Crockett, thank you for that question. This is Sylvia. To answer that question, as I mentioned earlier, looking at the expenditures of the previous years, a lot of it has never really been used for
Tyler.
personnel. A lot of it has just been operational expenses, and I believe the special
Committee members
transactions.
of the Budget and Finance Committee, I can barely hear somebody talking in the background. Shemayaji, did you get done with your question on behalf of the legislation?
Yes, I'm done with my question. That was not me. I'm on mute. Thank you, Pro Tem.
Okay, thank you, Shemayaji, Honorable Karate. Back to Budget and Finance Committee members. Before I turn the floor back over to Honorable Halona, is there any further questions? I don't hear any, so I'll turn the floor back over to you, Honorable Halona. You may proceed with the question that was posed by Honorable Karate.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Director Gishi, are you on, sir?
Yes, thank you, Delegate Halona. I will yield my time to Ms. Sylvia Tyler to answer that specific question in regards to how the funds are utilized from parents who pay on a sliding scale fee. Sylvia, please, and if you can speak a little bit louder, your response was coming in quite low a little bit earlier. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. This is Sylvia. Thank you, Delegate Crotty, for that question. I mentioned earlier that in reviewing the previous expenditures of the general fund account, the proprietary funds, a lot of it has never really been spent on travel or personnel. Majority of the time it's reallocated back to the operational, which could be food, is for our child care centers to be able to purchase food for the child care centers. And then at times there are special transactions when perhaps maybe there's an invoice that has not been paid on time. So just the miscellaneous fees such as late fees, that's usually general fund usually covers that for the department, as it's not covered under our federal funds. Thank you.
Well, thank you, and Vice Chair, who's our answer?
Thank you for that response. Back to Budget Finance Committee members. Any further questions?
Good morning, Vice Chairman. This is Delegate Yellow here.
Agoshiche, do you have a question you want to ask for on the legislation?
Yes, just for my not my colleagues being the committee members. As we all know, that majority of the program with the Navajo nations, either general funds or federal funds, and there's a lot of money was not spent due to a pandemic, and that's how it goes. And that's how I said that to being a committee that Navajo Nation general funds will have a lot of money left, and there's no short funding for 2023 Navajo Nation budget operations. So I don't blame anybody the program. It just happened to them. So that's how my understanding of Filipino committee. Thank you. Thank you. Bring forth Honorable Halona here. So please be by in legislation by on the Kodoto social services though are sponsor Kodoka Nachahi Thank you, social services. Yeah. Rokia Jini, the Delegate Yellowhair. And so let's class with this.
Budget Finance Committee members, any further questions before I turn the floor back over to Honorable Alona? Dengi, so I'll go ahead and turn the floor back over to you, Honorable Alona, and your agents. You have the floor.
Thank you, Delegate or Vice Chair. I think if there are no other questions, then we just want to ask for your approval on this legislation and move it through to the next committee. And unless there are other questions, that concludes our presentation. Vice Chair.
Appreciate Honorable Alona, for bringing this legislation forth of the Budget and Finance Committee. Budget and Finance Committee members, are we ready to vote? Janetta, round the horn. Roll call vote.
Yes, another roll call vote on approving the legislation. Honorable Jimmy Yellowhair, how do you vote?
Delegate Yellowhair, votes green. Thank you.
Thank you. Honorable Jimmy Yellowhair votes green. Honorable Amber Kenneth-Carty, how do you vote?
I'm sorry. Shada, this is Delegate Amber Kenneth-Carty. I vote green. Thank you.
Thank you. Honorable Amber Kenneth-Carty votes green. Honorable Nathaniel Brown, how do you vote?
Delegate Brown votes green.
Thank you. Honorable Nathaniel Brown votes green. Honorable Elmer P. Begay, how do you vote? Honorable Elmer P. Begay, how do you vote? Honorable Jimmy Hino, how do you vote?
I'll vote green. This is Delegate Begay.
Thank you. Honorable Elmer P. Begay votes green. Honorable Jimmy Hino, how do you vote? Honorable Jamie Hino, how do you vote? Vice Chairman, we have 4 members voting in the affirmative, 0 opposing, Vice Chairman not voting. Vice Chairman?
Thank you for that roll call vote. Netta, legislation 0137-22, sponsored by Honorable Alona, is passed with a favor of 4-0. Vice Chair not voting. This will move on to the next level. Back to the agenda. Shada, what's on the agenda that we had amended?
Okay, thank you. We have legislation number 0153-22 is next. And the last one, 0137, Budget and Finance Committee had final authority on that one. And this one also, legislation 0153-22. Did you want me to go ahead and read that?
Yes, that's next in the lineup of the agenda. You may proceed with the reading on the record.
Thank you. Legislation number 0153-22, proposed standing committee resolution assigned to Resources and Development Committee, thence Budget and Finance Committee. 24th Navajo Council, 4th year 2022, introduced by Elmer P. Begay, sponsor tracking number 0153-22, an act relating to the Resources and Development Committee and the Budget and Finance Committee accepting the Auditor General's audit of the Indian Wells chapter and approving the chapter's proposed corrective action plan. The exhibits are all there, and we have not received a committee report yet from the legislation section, but there is one from Resources and Development Committee that was turned in. Thank you, Chair, Vice Chair.
Thank you for reading that legislation into the record, Shada. Budget and Finance Committee for legislation 0153-22. Motion?
Motion, Delegate Carty.
Delegate Yellowhair, second.
I'll recognize the motioning parties. Honorable Karate for motioning, second by Honorable Jimmy O'Hare. I'll go ahead and turn the floor over to the sponsor of this legislation and their agents. You may proceed with this legislation.
Yeah, Vice Chair, Shida, other members of the Budget and Finance Committee, other the staff there, Chagwedo, Shideja, then also the people that are on the line, although the legislation that was read into the record, Indian Wells, the corrective action, if it the legislations called I'm pretty sure that Ms. Brown is on the line, so I'll give that floor to her to explain that. They did the audit, and there was a cap that was provided to have the Indian Wells chapter to go by that. So I'm pretty sure that my Sherry Yalzi is on the line, and then also Shumato, Linda Nelson is on the line from Indian Wells chapters. So if it's Ella, so I'll give the floor to maybe the Sherry from Indian Wells.
Good morning. Thank you. Members of Budget and Finance, Sherry Dick and Sherry Yossi. Also, I haven't changed my name, so Mr. Begay here. We've all known each other for years, and I just want to thank Doggett Begay, Honzahoni Kananlo. Last minute, thank you for your but thank you for helping the community of Indian Wells. So, we did adopt this corrective action. The Nelson, Ricky Nelson, and Lauren Silver, taught us and lived on law. And so, although myself, I can be 17, 18, or I guess it's to that I had left from here and returned here January, and realized that there was a corrective action opposed to Indian Wells chapter. Although adopting this action, we had begun working on it, and the Nelson Secretary Treasurer very adamant about correcting whatever was imposed. Auditor office because the initial Hanzaho just it's pretty basic. Just I noticed that the policy was not addressed or adhered to. Issue been the whole thing. So when the not up in the initial our corrective action plans, we presented that to Office of Auditor, Ms. Jasmine. We go with the initial. So it's been reviewed and accepted up to now. So I'm asking councils of Budget and Finance Committee.
Point of order, Pro Tem.
Hold on. Point of order, Honorable Karate, what's your point of order?
Pro Tem, thank you. My point of order, I cannot hear the agent. Could you let me know if that just on my end? I cannot understand what she's saying.
Okay.
I could
Can
barely
you hear
hear
me
her.
better?
Thank you for pointing that out on point of order. Some of us might not be able to hear it loud and clear, so if you can get close to your mic or get to a better location, we need to hear your response on this legislation. You may proceed.
Can you hear me a lot better?
Honorable Crotty, can you hear a whole lot better?
Yes, thank you, Pro Tem. I appreciate it. Thank you, Shada.
You're welcome.
You may proceed.
Okay, so like I was saying, and thank you committee for reviewing our corrective plan. Although we are striving for chapter certification, and we would like to have our documents accepted so we can move on. And as I had mentioned, we did adopt this, but we're not pointing fingers, and we made the effort of making these corrections. Thank you.
Vice Chair, this is
That
Delegate
concludes
McGay.
my comment.
Does that conclude your report or your on your legislation?
Yeah, the legislation 153-22. It was from Indian chapter, so I can give the floor to Ms. Helen Brown or I think Ms. Yazzie is on the line too. The Rosita Yazzie from the Auditor General's office.
Negotiation die. You have your agent, so go ahead and turn the floor over to them and let us know when you're complete with your legislation on your report to us, so that we can open up for questions. You may proceed with your agents.
Okay, Ms. Helen Brown, are you on the line from the Auditor General office? Thank you.
Hello, good morning. This is Jasmine Jishi with the Office of the Auditor General, and I will go ahead and proceed with presenting the report. Good morning, members of the Budget and Finance Committee. We are here to present the special review of the Indian Wells chapter and their corrective action plan. This review was conducted for the 12-month period ending September 30th, 2019. During the audit, the officials were made up of the President, Benson Stewart, the Vice President, George John, and the Secretary Treasurer, Nora John. The Office of the Auditor General here will transmit audit report number 20-10, a special review of the Indian Wells chapter. The main audit objective was to determine whether internal controls are functioning as designed to ensure the chapter spent funds in accordance with Navajo Nation and chapter policies and procedures. Our review revealed control deficiencies, and as a result, the Indian Wells chapter cannot provide reasonable assurance it complies with policies and procedures. The following issues were identified. Finding number 1, not all fixed assets are reported on the balance sheet. The balance sheet reported fixed asset valued at $2,600. However, the property inventory has a total fixed asset value of $866,495. The assets reported in the balance sheet is understated by $863,895. Finding 2, property items are not tagged with identification numbers. 20 property items totaling $443,090 were physically inspected. All items did not have property identification tags. The property inventory also did not identify property identification numbers. Property owned and controlled by the chapter cannot be detected for recovery in insurance purposes if they should be stolen or misplaced. Finding number 3, financial transactions are not completely and accurately posted in the accounting system. In the review of the accounting system, we detected the following: revenues totaling $2,500 were not posted. Budgets totaled $11,645 were not posted. Disbursements totaling $3,520 were posted to the wrong general ledger code. A travel advance of $408 was transposed and incorrectly expensed as $480. Incomplete and inaccurate posting of transactions results in unreliable financial statements. Finding number 4, cash receipts are not safeguarded and deposited in a timely manner. For the 12-month review period, there were 14 deposits of cash and checks. Of this, 11 deposits took between 12 to 70 business days to deposit cash receipts. The amount was anywhere from $270 to $6,238. With late deposits and minimal safeguards, there is a risk that cash could go missing and undetected. Finding number 5, not all funds have approved budgets in place. A total of 7,298 of internal generated revenues and 10,000 of 217 of external revenues did not have community approved budgets in place. In absence of approved budgets, any expenditure of these funds will be considered unauthorized. Finding number 6, the chapter cannot demonstrate that housing assistance projects are complete. For the review, there were 4 housing assistance recipients who were assisted, a total of 4,131. All 4 recipients did not have performance reports to verify that housing assistance projects were completed. There is a risk that building materials totaling 4,131 were used for unauthorized purposes or are unaccounted for due to theft, misuse, or deterioration. Finding number 7, there are no controls in place to safeguard building materials against loss, damage, and theft. The chapter has building materials remaining from a purchase made years ago for a chapter project. There was no inventory control sheet developed to keep track of the use of the materials. Over the years, some materials were issued as housing assistance, but the items' quantity and recipients were not properly documented. Based on our observation of the current inventory, some of the materials have deteriorated. There is a risk that the building materials may be stolen, misused, or wasted without detection. Finding number 8, the chapter does not competitively procure goods and services. For the review period, expenses totaling $7,170 was reviewed. Of this, 1,780 were not competitively procured by obtaining price quotations. The chapter potentially paid higher prices for goods and services. Finding 9, travel requests, advances, and reimbursements lack prior approval. For the review period, we identified 66 travel disbursements. 30 travel disbursements totaling 7,409 were reviewed, and 6 of that travel authorization forms were not approved prior to travel. Advances were not approved prior to issuing checks, and reimbursements were not approved prior to issuing checks. Without approved travel authorizations and approval of related expenses, travel disbursements totaling 3,096 are questionable. Finding number 10, the accounts maintenance specialist approved housing assistance for a family member. For the 12-month review period, the chapter did not have a housing committee. Therefore, the chapter staff was approving housing applications. However, this practice was contrary to policies and procedures. Further, in the absence of a community services coordinator, the accounts maintenance specialist approved and awarded housing assistance in the amount of $1,200 to a family member. This was a conflict of interest that is prohibited by policies and procedures. An approval process controlled by one individual, in this case the accounts maintenance specialist, can influence the process unfairly and result in awards to family members. This practice will prevent community members with more critical and dire housing needs from getting assistance. Overall, the chapter has not complied with all Navajo Nation chapter policies and procedures and laws while expending chapter funds, and there are control weaknesses posing various risks. These deficiencies resulted in 10 findings identified in the report. The chapter also went on to create a corrective action plan, and that corrective action plan was reviewed and accepted by the Office of the Auditor General. And this concludes the presentation of the Office of the Auditor General's report. Thank you.
Vice Chair. Hello.
We can hear you tonight. We're just waiting for pro tem.
Vice Chair Smith? Vice Chair Smith?
Vice Chair Smith. Still on the line? Peggy, are you still on the line too?
Yes, I am. Shiaj Nathaniel Brown, are you still on the call?
Yes, I am here.
Ashwaria, can you be the pro tem? The presenters have all finished their presentation, and then you can ask for if there are any further questions. If not, then just call for the vote.
Okay. Bila, I can pro temp. Yeah, so right now we completed this report. Any questions from the committee members? Attendo
This is not a kid. Delegate Yellow Hair.
Okay, Shana, Delegate Yellowhair, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you very much, Pro Temp Secretary Honorable Brown. Tonight, created chapter order and not in Taza. Either they don't understand the county software. Do we need county software? That we like to ask Helen Brown to answer that one. Sometimes these audit what are going over to this audit could I done mismanage our funds under what chapters what then audit and done in it over report either. Actually audit related administration administrative assistance that Chin Lee Khalid Aro to George Johnson as a count mother to know on these time. But you know it takes so long to find out this management is taking too long. It could echo. My reason is I think there's about maybe 60 of the chapters, 60 plus of chapters they're not certified. My concern is with this looks at this report, audit report coronavirus Elmer gay and we gave Ecuador, Indian Wells chapters again. It looks like there's a little kind of major issues with a lot of questions in the management of funds. Because the request to be a certified chapter that they clicked on. They really need to improve how to control funds. I wonder if there's another accounting software that can be recommended by Helen Brown, so those can be catch right away. Why the report are not made right away? Why these reports are not made to the community at the chapter levels too? That's where they need to know right away, at least tell the community. They begin to see it. They hold the report, the expenditure. Should I afford that me for Black Mesa from there? There's a lot of issues I have for about 20 plus years now. We're not certified. We just go back to the same old thing. We're not going to be certified. We're just audit. I call that concerns and I send it into a legal counsel's office. So it should be coming before being there very soon. The audit get certified or the change. So I thought there's some questions in there. It takes another 3 years to bring this audit again. In later, 2022, 2025, that's an audit. We're going to bring this back then because we need more audit employees. We could relocate them other building too. Outside, we could help them find building for them so they can move other buildings. So we need all those positions. There's a lot of vacancy in that audit report. Helen Brown, deja vu vacancy. We need to fill these in. So another, this is retired. Should have come in to be certified. 800 but the conflict of interest maybe the point of order. This should have thought. Even not Dr. Yellowman, Dr. Fowler supposed to have a meeting there. They postponed it. So I'm gonna write email back to them to push this, take care of this once and for all. They need to take care of them. They need help. They need help the chapters. We need the chapters to be certified. Yes, that might be my legislation come before I leave 23rd council, 24th council, excuse me. Before I leave that my post as being a council, I want to take care of this business. Once about zero, Honorable Brown, though, should see that they are not pro temp vice chairman. So, yeah, then I think so. Once at all, Honorable Brown, and so honestly, they should not keep to Helen Brown.
Yat ekwegi sinan natin kidi ado kwegi si I do natin kid to the auditor gate ako now if you can from the Navajo Nation Auditor General's office question that get a hadit here. Yeah.
Good morning, Mr. Pro Temp Chair, members of the Budget and Finance Committee. This is Helen Brown, the Delegated Auditor General. Can you hear me? Is it started? Hello, BNF Committee. This is Helen Brown. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. This is Delegate Vice Chair Smith. You may proceed.
Oh,
Back up.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Mr. Pro Temp Chair and members of the Budget and Finance Committee. I apologize for getting on late here. I was just completing a bid opening here. So
My colleague Jasmine Gishi, I understand she presented the report for Indian Wells chapter, and I did get most of Delegate Yellowhair's comments and some, I guess, questions he may have for our office here. We do realize that the Indian Wells chapter audit was completed back in 2020. Again, the CAP process took longer than we anticipated. A lot of it was because of the whole issues with the whole COVID, the government shutdown, and of course, it's taken a while for chapters to get back to 100%. So we've just been patient with our chapters, trying to address these important matters regarding their corrective action plans. But we appreciate Indian Wells chapter responding to all of our comments. They gave us an initial cap. We had to provide some comments and edits for them, and it just went back and forth our process. And so we were finally able to agree on a corrective action plan, and that's where we're coming before your committee to ask for your support in getting that cap approved. I believe the question that Delegate Yellowhair and his concerns about getting chapters certified, we understand that from the Auditor General's office. It is something that we are supportive of, but we, based on our mandated authority, is we're the ones that review these systems. We're not responsible for providing technical assistance or providing any type of training. We look to ASC to provide that for the chapters, but we do work closely with ASC in a lot of our audits and a lot of the technical assistance that they provide. Getting chapters certified remains a priority for our office. Anytime there's a request that comes in, we prioritize those, but it really the initiative has to come from the chapters. And with Indian Wells chapter, that obviously is their goal going forward, but first they would need to address these audit findings that we have. And the most important step that they're taking right now is creating a corrective action plan. And that's where we continue to work with them on that. And as they get the CAP approved, it will provide them the tools and the plan to go forward to address those audit findings. And if they're successful, we will be back in a year's time to do a follow-up, and hopefully we can see that a lot of these internal control deficiencies will be addressed at that time. Delegate Yellowhair mentioned the accounting system. A lot of I think a majority of the chapters, if not all of them, are on the MIP accounting system. But keep in mind that the accounting system is just a tool that the chapters are using out there to carry out their daily operations. A lot of the findings that we have here, for example, for Indian Wells, is regarding internal controls, and those are outside of the system. So, for example, finding 2 about property items are not tagged with identification numbers. The accounting system the chapter has does not allow, that cannot do that for them. That's the chapter themselves. The administrative staff have to obtain identification tags, and then they have to go out and actually apply those tag numbers to their property items. And then after that, they have to record those identification numbers into their property inventory document. So these are tasks and procedures that are outside of the accounting system. And once all of the property are identified, what goes into the accounting system is the value of these items. So keep in mind, again, the accounting software is just a tool that the chapters are using. The internal controls is what's important. That's what the chapters need to strengthen. And those are the focus of our audits when we do these internal audits. And that's what we state in our audit reports here, is our objective is to determine whether internal controls are functioning as designed. And those internal controls are spelled out in the chapter's 5 management system policies and procedures manual. So every time you see our audit reports and you see criteria, we will be citing those policies and procedures. And so anytime a chapter is not following those policies and procedures, then that's how we report a finding. So at this time, my office is not recommending any other type of accounting software. We see that the MIP system is working for chapters if they're using it properly, if they have a good understanding of it, and if they're getting training on it. And again, that comes from ASC through their technical assistance. So I hope, and as far as our vacancy is concerned, I think that was another point that Delegate Yellowhair mentioned. Our vacancies are down to 3, excuse me, with the Auditor General, that being 4. We did receive another referral for an associate auditor position. So if that person is a suitable candidate, then our vacancy is going to be down to 2 for associate auditors. So we are filling our positions. We will be bringing in 2 new auditors in the next week or 2. The delay was with the background checks that they had to go through, but that's being completed. So we are filling our vacant position. So hopefully going forward into FY 2023, we'll be able to complete more projects in-house and then focus on having our consultants work on some bigger projects. So with that, the committee, I hope I was able to answer your questions and issues at this time. Thank you.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, Craig. Oh, okay. So let me turn the floor back to Vice Chair as Chair Pro Temp. Thank you.
Okay, Honorable Brown for taking over during the time that we'll have a little technical difficulties. I appreciate that. Shadab, on the Budget and Finance Committee, the question that was posed and answered by the Auditor General, does that conclude your response?
Shadab, the delegate gave. I think that was concluded all by the agents reporting back, and if there's any more questions, I think I'm pretty sure Ms. Brown's on the line waiting for that too. Also, the letter we are concluding by our agents report on the chat. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Elmer Pagishta. Back to committee members of the Budget and Finance. Any further questions?
Follow up by Yellow Hair. Thank you.
I'll turn the floor over to Honorable Jamil O'Hare. Che, you have the floor.
Yeah, Nana, the two Vice Chairman Pro Temp. Good morning again. My concern is fire management system is not working. That's probably the old law now. There's some things that can be changed, which I have discussions with the Dr. Yellowman and also Dr. Fowler. I really need their help to change this. There's some way that needs to be done that should become before being that committee and other a committee to concern to navigate committee and all the way up to Navajo Nation Council. So this is fire management systems is not working at all. Anybody, any county can be good county hire, can understand a lot of things. They are fire management. We're just circling around. We're just doing audit, just do the same old thing and nothing improved at the chapter. And something got to be done from Dr. Yellowman and Dr. Fowler. I want to touch this. I was Mr. Edward D. It was not until he was start working on it. It should be I say Diego chapter level to Gigi personal story about what about Yani the mismanagement the quacky. Our question should be on the it was like Christian double also. I want to submit a legislation to but about this kids in the county department, the county just resort as being this case Yochin. I want to about not still my follow-up. President Andre Helen Brown here for your report here. So Dina Zitchi being on our story. Also, then Johannes Vice Chairman, yeah, pro temp situation.
Che, was there a question in that, or was that just more or less of comments, Che?
I kind of reference all comments today about sequence. That's a very good remarks by me. Yeah.
Committee members of the Budget Finance, hello. Are we ready to vote?
So two delegate yell here, not at the Saudi, not at the skill, send the up Helen Brown, not at the skill. Could our report Eli? Is that kind of a major concern? You're not that kid in my first time. My question was, is it concerned about it? It's kind of like a major mismatch of fun along these lines. Yeah, how bad it is, Ms. Brown, but this kid, Vice Chairman.
I'll go ahead and turn the floor over to our sponsor of this legislation, Sta, and your agents. There was a question from Honorable Jimmy Yellowhair. You have the floor, Sta.
Thank you, that Shida, Vice Chair, and Adult Shinado, Delegate Yellowhair. I'll go ahead and give the question to Ms. Brown. Ms. Brown, you have the floor.
Thank you again, Delegate Begay, Ado, Mr. Pro Temp Chair, and members of the Budget and Finance Committee. Delegate Yellowhair, not this kiddy. In terms of how bad, I guess that can be interpreted in many different ways. For us, from an audit standpoint, when a chapter has a lot of internal control deficiencies, what we call as risk, they become very high. They become significant risk. That means that there's an opportunity for abuse of funds, misuse of funds, even significant things like fraud for occurring. So it can become major issues, and especially for chapters that are not addressing their audit findings. They're not doing enough to strengthen their internal controls. And we've seen that with chapters that we had to recommend for sanctions. And if these become ongoing issues, then it becomes systemic problems for the chapter, and they become major problems. And so that's the reason why our department is very important when we do these audits. We're providing feedback to the chapters, both officials and management, as well as stakeholders such as this committee, the council, people like ASC, and all these other entities that the chapters work with. It becomes a concern for them when chapters are not being accountable for their funds. They're not providing fiscal transparency because at the end of the day, they're not exercising adequate internal controls. So I'm not sure if that response answers Delegate Yellowhair's question, but yeah, it just depends on the chapters and how serious are they're in prioritizing these audit matters going forward. And hopefully with Indian Wells, with the committee's support today for their corrective action plan, they will know what they need to do going forward from today, and then that they understand that they have a 1-year timeline to get all of these 10 findings addressed going forward. So that will be my response, Pro Temp Chair. Thank you.
Vice Chairman.
Respond back to
Homer. Does that conclude your answer?
Yeah, there's the response from Helen Brown. Then also you need to I think there's kind of a question that's relating to the chapters, how they feel, and what the response on the corrective action that was provided by Auditor General. I have a Secretary of Treasury who's on the line too, if she wants to do some more explaining of how she feels about the corrective action that was provided by Auditor General. So Linda Nelson's on the line too, if she wants to go ahead and say something about it. But I think I heard Delegate the Yellowhair. I think he has another question. Thank you, Sada.
I'll turn the floor back over to the Defense Committee. Are we ready to vote on this legislation?
Vice Chairman, follow up. This is Delegate Yellowhair.
Shiche, I'll go ahead and give you the floor.
Okay, thank you very much, Sue, Vice Chairman, Teller, Honorable Auditor General from Helen Brown. My point is straight to the point. Your answer was for all the audit the way you do, but what I'm saying is, how is this a legislation just straight? Sub 0153-22. I told you, I said, is it kind of bad or medium, or the correction plan is being corrected? How is this itself? I'm just talking about legislation 0153-22. Is it bad or just okay? That's my question, Vice Chairman.
Questions, Jay? Any other questions for the sponsor of this legislation? If not, I'll go ahead and turn the floor back over to Honorable Elmer Begay and your agents.
Thank you for that again, Shida, Sado, Shinado, Jimmy Yellow here. I'll give the floor, the time to Ms. Brown, so she can provide this response. Thank you.
Thank you again, Mr. Begay, Delegate Begay, Pro Temp Chair, Delegate Yellowhair for your question, and the committee members. My apologies for not speaking specifically to the Indian Wells chapter audit. In regards to your question and saying how bad it is, I would say the audit findings are significant. So for example, the first finding is not all fixed assets were reported in the balance sheet. The chapter's balance sheet at the time we did the audit only reported 2,600 in assets when there should have been 866,495. So almost all of their fixed assets were not being reported. So that means that their balance sheet is not properly reporting or accurately reporting all of the chapter's assets. So if somebody's going to be reading the balance sheet, they're going to see that the chapter's assets are severely understated. So that would be a significant issue there. The second finding is property items were not tagged with identification numbers. We looked at 20 property items. Their total value for that was $443,000. All of those did not have identification tags. So if some of those items were to get stolen or to walk off chapter premises, then the chapter would have a hard time identifying those items as what belong to the chapter. So when you look at it from a dollar point standpoint and you see these types of numbers, then if you want, Delegate Yellowhair wants me to say whether these are minor or major issues, then I would say they are major issues at this time. What we're trying to do with the corrective action plan is to work with the Indian Wells chapter to say, okay, these are the findings that the auditors find, but this is how we're going to fix it. This is how we're going to do better going forward. And that's what the corrective action plan is addressing. So I hope I was able to answer Delegate Yellowhair's questions this time around. If not, just let me know. That will be my response. Thank you, Mr. Pro Temp Chair.
Vice Chairman, Delegate Yellowhair.
Honorable Elmer Begay, that concludes your questions. Your answer to the question that Honorable Jim Yellowhair posed.
Back to Shida, Pro Temp Vice Chair. That's a response from Ms. Brown. So I'll get back to you. Thank you.
Back to Budget Finance Committee members. Any other questions regarding this legislation?
No. Yellowhair, not it.
Honorable Yellowhair.
Okay, yeah. Somebody, I'm leaving right after somebody's doing that to me. Okay, I guess I'm doing fine so far. I want to say thanks to Helen Brown, to the very good response. And my concern was related to that was all settlers and anything to do with Navajo Nation government and the county. The county is very important, and controls, accountabilities, and transparency. Those are important. Ere share those or share the dishni. What ela or one sadole shinadi kidi vice chairman. Thank you.
I should say, for clarifying that. And back to committee members. We ready to vote on this legislation? Janella, do a roll call vote, round the horn.
Yes, Vice Chairman Chinella. Roll call vote on approving the legislation. Honorable Jimmy Yellowhair, how do you vote? Honorable Jimmy Yellowhair, how do you vote?
I'll vote green. Don't get yellow here. Vote green. Thank you.
Thank you. Honorable Jimmy Yellowhair votes green. Honorable Amber Kenneth Carty, how do you vote?
Chad, this is Delegate Carty. I vote green. Thank you.
Thank you, Shadeja. Honorable Amber Kenneth Carty votes green. Honorable Nathaniel Brown, how do you vote?
Delegate Brown votes green.
Thank you. Honorable Nathaniel Brown votes green. Honorable Elmer P. Begay, how do you vote?
Should I vote green?
Thank you. Honorable Elmer P. Begay votes green. Honorable Jamie Henyo, how do you vote? Honorable Jamie Henyo?
I vote green.
Thank you. Honorable Jamie Henyo votes green. Vice Chairman, we have 5 members voting in the affirmative, 0 opposing, and Chairman not voting. Vice Chairman not voting, I'm sorry. Vice Chairman?
Okay, Shanella, for the roll call vote on this legislation 0153-22. It has passed, and Budget and Finance is the final authority. Therefore, the HIAHAT on also Budget and Finance and also the sponsor of this legislation and the agents that provided the answers and we're here for the legislation. At this point in time, I hear Chair Henyo back on board with us. Chair Henyo, you may take the gavel.
Vice Chair, this is Delegate Begay.
Honorable Begay.
I have a question regarding Vice Chair. I have a question regarding the Budget and Finance Committee being the final authority to this legislation. So the question goes to Ms. Helen Brown. So Ms. Brown, so you can continue working with Indian Wells. You can given any letter again to start reviewing that, providing the cap. How you guys can do that?
Honorable Elmer Begay, you're asking your own agent at this point in time. I'll go ahead and consider that. Madam Auditor General, may you proceed with that question, and then we'll move forward with the agenda.
Vice Chair Smith, I believe the Auditor General's office is off the call.
Shada, I think the Auditor General did her task on behalf of the not sponsor, but answering questions on the legislation. So you might want to call her later on. She's not on the call.
Okay.
At this point, Chair Henyo, do you have the gavel?
Yes, Vice Chair Smith. Can you hear me?
Is this Chair Henyo? Okay,
can you hear me?
Is this Chair Henyo?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now, Chair Henyo. I'm turning the gavel over to you. We're at reports now.
Okay, hold on. Okay. I'm sorry. There's multiple stuff here. I'm in Alamo chapter right now. I was in the budget and finance meeting on those issues down here, so I had to make my way down this way. Again, Vice Chair Smith for taking the gavel and moving forward with the legislation that we completed that task. We'll go back to reports. And first item on the report is Mr. Emerson. Horace, are you on the call? Mr. Emerson Horace? Now, Peggy, is Mr. Horace on the call?
Chairman, this is Delegate Yell here. Question of privilege.
Mr. Horace, first call. Emerson Horace, nomination officer controller, second call. Mr. Emerson Horace, third and final call. We don't have a presenter for the first item on the agenda for reports. Maybe staff to reach out to him, see if he can come back in. Let's move forward to the next item of the report. Navajo Housing Authority. Ms. Curley, are you on the call?
Yes, good morning, Chairman Henio. This is Maureen Curley. I'm here.
Kushina, please, the purpose of this report is to give the committee an update on ERAP and how the process is moving for NHA. At the same time, deadlines that will be coming up. So you have the floor, Ms. Curley.
Yes, thank you, Chairman Henio, and thank you to members of the BNF committee and all those that are listening in this morning. She Maureen Curley and Shiao Kia Ani Shlon the Betajan Bashish Chain Kabantas and Masamgo Hanagahe Dashinova. But I is I am the current CEO for the Navajo Housing Authority, and to update you on the ERAP, the Emergency Rental Assistance Program. Currently, the ERAP program has an application pool of 4,586 applications. These applications are coming from our outreach and also out of our portal system that is online. And of those current applications being reviewed, there's 1,363 applications that are currently being reviewed for payment and for disclosure of additional documents that are needed to complete their files. As of Monday, September 5th, our weekly totals for last week was $898,271.81 was expended in payments for internet, utilities, and also rent. Be advised that we have been hitting anywhere from $800,000 to $1 million every week while we're expending these funds that have been allocated to us from the U.S. Treasury. Our direct total to clients as of today, how much we have expended straight to the clients have been $16,179,812.59. And the total expended to date, total that we have expended is $17,991,515.80. So we have that plus all of our P&As that have been basically expended from the 93 million. So we're actually down to about maybe 55 million that we have left to be expended. with the deadlines that we have for ERAP, as you know, June 30th, we did receive a letter from HUD, from the U.S. Treasury, asking us to return any funding from ERAP that there was going to be a deadline where they were going to recapture money from us by August 19th, or I'm sorry, by July 30th of this year, 2020. However, in response to their request, our legal attorneys or our legal counsel with ERAP and other individuals involved did some research and found that if we did not return the money to the U.S. Treasury, that there were going to be no penalties on either side. So with that in mind, we did inform our Board of Commissioners and also RDC that we were not going to return the money, that we were going to continue expending that money. With this in mind, U.S. Treasury did send us a letter requesting, or not U.S. Treasury, well, yeah, U.S. Treasury sent us an email stating that we had till August 19th to voluntarily submit to them whatever funding we felt that we would not be able to expend by the September 30th deadline. Again, with our legal counsel, if we didn't expend or if we didn't return that money, there were going to be no penalties on our part or with the Navajo Nation. Therefore, we continue to expend the money, helping our Navajo clients throughout the United States. And again, I just want to iterate that we have approval from the Board of Commissioners, and that we did notify RDC that we were going to continue regardless of the deadline of August 19th. From this, we did some discussions, and we have come up with we have asked the various entities prior to June or July 30th, from the Washington office to our office to the President's office, to establish a letter for us so that we can continue to utilize the money, and that we were requesting an extension for another year under the ERAP program. We did get a letter from the President's office signed by both President Nez and Speaker Damon. And then we did receive a letter from our Board of Commissioners that was sent to the Washington office. In turn, I understand that they had presented it to the Department of Interior and the Treasury Department. So therefore, we were asking for additional letters from the council, but we were told by our Board of Commissioners that it probably would not be necessary. Therefore, we never, and I do apologize for not letting everyone know that we were not going to submit any other letters except for the ones from the President and Speaker Damon. With that in mind, to date, we have had 3 outreaches since the last time that we spoke. We had one in Albuquerque, August 25th through the 26th. We had one in Phoenix, August 29th through the 31st, and then in Tucson from September 1st to the 3rd. The turnouts were very well received, and we are still getting numerous applications from our clients out in Indian country and also in our various metropolitan areas. So that is my update, Chairman Hino, and I stand ready to answer some questions if there are any questions. Thank you.
Peggy, do we still have Chair Henny on board with us?
Yes, he's on the call, but I think he's in a meeting or something. There was a question about the status of the letters from the council.
Goshe, thank you, Heather, for the report from Navajo Housing Authority and the progress and what's been taking place. At this point in time, committee members of the Budget and Finance motion.
Motion, Delegate Crotty.
Second, Delegate Begay.
Motion by Honorable Crotty and second by Honorable Elmer Begay. With the motion and a second, I will open the floor for questions for the Budget and Finance Committee.
Pro Tem, this is Delegate Crotty with a question.
Honorable Crotty, you may proceed with your question.
Yes, thank you, Pro Tem. So did I receive a copy of the letter that was signed by the President and Speaker regarding this issue? Or if that could be re-forwarded back to my email? I don't have that information, and so that is what I want to raise in terms of the enterprise with Navajo Housing Authority, and in speaking, with the leadership, with the CEO, in terms of the role that Navajo Housing Authority plays as our tribally designated housing entity, the communication in terms of working with leadership on behalf of our constituents, because this federal funding is spent or allocated to NHA on behalf of the constituents that we represent. And there's really not information being relayed. And the concern is also in terms of that there will be no penalty. Does that mean there won't be a monetary penalty? This won't, in future funds, this won't be used against us as a nation. And I would want to see that information. And if Mr. Rodas or someone from the Department of Justice is on the line, if they could explain to me in terms of when you review the documents, what type of penalty are we discussing? Because there is a second round of ERAP. We do have to make sure that Navajo Nation remains in good standing to continue to receive federal dollars. And I'm just, this just doesn't sound, like it's appropriately being handled. And I'd like to know the information so that we could have it as leadership. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Honorable Crotty. Budget Finance Committee members, any further questions? Navajo Housing Authority, CEO, Ms. Curley, you have the floor. May respond.
Yes, thank you, Cecilia, Vice Chair Smith. In regards to Councilman Crotty's comment or question, the review of our decision to continue expending these funds was done by our legal counsel. It did not go to DOJ of the Navajo Nation. So I can have our legal counsel send you his comments or his decision on this particular issue. They are in a meeting right now in regards to other items that we're trying to get off the table here at NHA. But I will send, I'm looking right now at the letter that President Nez sent to us, and I am sending that to you as we speak. So
That will be in your email in just a few minutes. Vice Chair Smith, thank you.
Thank you for that response. Shut up. Back to Budget and Finance Committee members. Any further questions? Not hearing any, so call for the question. Shanetta, round the horn. Roll call vote.
Sure, another roll call vote on accepting the report. Honorable Jimmy O'Hare, how do you vote? Honorable Jimmy Yellowhair, how do you vote?
Delegate Yellowhair votes green.
Thank you, Shazada. Honorable Jimmy Yellowhair votes green. Honorable Amber Kenneth Crotty, how do you vote?
Shada, this is Delegate Cardi. I'll vote green. Thank you.
Thank you, Shadasia. Honorable Amber Kenneth Crotty votes green. Honorable Nathaniel Brown, how do you vote? Honorable Nathaniel Brown.
Delegate Brown votes green.
Thank you, Shachay. Honorable Nathaniel Brown votes green. Honorable Elmer P. Begay, how do you vote?
I'll vote green.
Thank you, Chanel. Honorable Elmer P. Begay votes green. Honorable Jamie Henyo, how do you vote? Honorable Jamie Henyo, how do you vote? Thank you. Honorable Jamie Henyo votes green. Vice Chairman, we have 5 members voting in the affirmative, 0 opposing. Vice Chair not voting. Vice Chair?
Thank you for that roll call vote. Motion carries. I appreciate the report from Navajo Housing Authority. And we will continue. I hear Henyo on board with us. I'll turn the gavel over to Chair Henyo. Chair Henyo, you have the gavel.
Vice Chair Smith, I believe he's en route for traveling around Alamo or something. That's what he was saying. He was at a meeting.
Go Shane.
Vice Chair Smith, this is Henyo. Delegate Henyo.
Chair Henyo, giving the gavel over to you. You take the gavel.
Okay. I'm here in Alamo, attending a meeting now with the community here regarding a bridge that's about to wash out on the main road. So I apologize for going in and out. But are we done with the reports? We are. Then let's move forward to the last part of the agenda, which is the adjournment. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Vice Chair Smith,
Delegate Begay, motion. Vice Chair Smith, motion to adjourn. Second by Shanata. Delegate Elmer P. Begay. Are there any announcements? Next meeting is September 20th, 2022. So, Ramona, a roll call vote to adjourn.
Yes, Chairman Henyo, a roll call vote on the adjournment. Honorable Raymond Smith Jr., how do you vote?
Green.
Thank you, Chanel. Honorable Raymond Smith Jr. votes green. Honorable Jimmy Yellowhair, how do you vote? Honorable Jimmy Yellowhair, how do you vote? Honorable Amber.
Delegate Yellowhair votes green.
Thank
and
you,
then I'll
Shazada.
make second.
Thank you, Shazada. Honorable
Second
Jimmy
motion
Yellowhair
to-
votes green. Honorable Amber Kenneth Body, how do you vote? Honorable Amber Kenneth Crotty, how do you vote? Honorable Nathaniel Brown, how do you vote?
Delegate Brown votes green.
Thank you, Chair. Honorable Nathaniel Brown votes green. Honorable Elmer P. Begay, how do you vote?
I'll vote green.
Thank you, Chanel. Honorable Elmer P. Begay votes green. Honorable Amber Kenneth Crotty, how do you vote? Chairman, we have 4 members voting in the affirmative, 0 opposing. Chairman not voting, and 1 member not voting. Chairman?
Thank you. 4 in favor, 0 opposed, chair not voting. 12:13, we are hereby adjourned. Budget Finance Committee for a productive meeting. Although Vice Chair Smith and Diego, I really do appreciate your help for today's meeting. Thank you. And Peggy, Ramona, thank you. So with this, we'll move forward to adjourn. We are hereby adjourned.